Now, from tomorrow, we can expect heavier than usual rainfall across parts of the country as El-Nino makes a return this year. It's a phenomenon that typically occurs every 3 to 5 years and causes excess rainfall and flooding in the East Africa region. Well, the worst in recent memory was back in 1997 and also in 2006. So with over 99% chance of likelihood, which is virtual certainty, how can we best prepare? We'll get to that in the story coming up, but first let's take a look at the parts of the country set to be worst hit. Now, the Met Department mapped out several areas likely to be flooding hotspots, and these include Nyakach, Nyando, lower areas of River Nzoia, Winam Gulf, and lower areas of River Sondu in western Kenya. In the Rift Valley region, flooding is likely to occur in Gilgil, Narok Town, and Suswa, while the coastal towns of Mwatate and Tana River Delta have also been identified as high-risk areas. Other areas include Lodwar and Lokichar in northeastern Kenya, where flash floods are expected to be prevalent, and this is due to the high number of seasonal rivers, as well as major urban centers like Nairobi, Naivasha, Nakuru, and Mombasa. Landslides are expected in parts characterized by waterlogged soils, such as West Pokot, Kericho, Elgeyo Marakwet, Mount Elgon, Narok, Nakuru, Baringo, Murang'a, and other areas around Kilungu in Makueni County. So we wanted to get a better understanding of this seasonal weather phenomenon and why it's caused a bit of concern this year. Here now is our special report on the El Nino rains. This was the situation back in 1997 when heavy El Nino rains hit the country. The Kenya Meteorological Department issued a forecast for the 1997-1998 El Nino event as early as July that year. Kenyans thought it would subside in a matter of days or even weeks, but it sustained until February 1998. Lives were lost, property destroyed, and livelihoods adversely affected.
For 1997-1998 was very kind of significant because it affected much of the globe and actually at a very high level. We normally use an index, which is a number. And in this case, in the month of August, the index was at about 0.8. Okay. Of course, we know the one for 1997 was at about 1 point something.
Though the Met Department's projections don't indicate this year's El Nino event will be as severe as the 1997 one, just what causes it in the first place?
A big mass of water, the oceanic water, warms up. And in effect, it causes, kind of the rising of the water. In simple terms, it's like when you boil water, when it starts boiling, you see the vapor coming up. So it's more or less the same kind of thing, but now happening over a large area. And therefore, this warming of the ocean causes the water to rise. And within that circulation, that rising of the water and warming causes changes in the weather around the globe. In this sense, because of the warming, we have a phenomenon called El Nino, whereby you find these waters, they would join the circulation. We call it the Walker circulation. It's a bigger circulation that goes around, the world near the equator in the north and in the south. So in this case, the water would flow from the source, that is the equatorial Pacific, and it causes rainfall over the parts of Eastern Africa, the Horn of Africa.
The 1997 El Nino event remains a lesson for the country, which at the time had no plans or policies in place to deal with the associated flood hazards. This time, however, it's not taking chances. The government has estimated that it requires more than 10 billion shillings to manage the effects of the upcoming El Nino, especially in the arid and semi-arid areas. Urban areas, on the other hand, like Nairobi, see informal settlements often bear the brunt of such extreme weather events due to swelling rivers that snake through the city. So we're here in Kibra. It's one of the 436 hotspots that have been identified by the county of Nairobi as a flood-prone zone. Now, according to the county's projections, roughly 200,000 people could be displaced as a result of the upcoming rains. So it's the reason why the county is rushing against time to put the necessary preparations to avert any kind of damage. Here in Gumo Estate, these youth recruited under the Green Nairobi team are clearing ditches ahead of the rains. This area often acts as a basin, collecting the runoff waters from the heavy rains from Ngong Road.
So part of what we are doing is ensuring that the drains are flowing, and in some areas you find that we have culverts that are also blocked. So that's why you've seen us having the machine that has just left. That's a flushing unit that is used to flush culverts where people or human effort cannot be able to assist.
This familiar sight of a compromised building following a heavy downpour is what the county government is seeking to avert.
With the National Inspectorate had already mapped buildings that are considered not to be sound architecturally. Those information would be shared, and I think our planning department, together with the National Building Inspectorate, will then advise people to be evacuated from those buildings, because we are trying as much as possible to ensure that we minimize any, if any, loss that could occur as a result of these floods.
City Hall plans to establish temporary shelters as alternative measures as well. The Met Department has warned of a 99% likelihood of high rainfall across parts of the country as El-Nino makes a return this year. The rains are set to peak in mid-October and go on until January next year.